Okay, so we talk about the next script นะคะ about the next script นะคะ for the previous script we the end of negotiation skill and now the next script นะคะ negotiation skill master the key paradoxes. Okay, there are 5 factors for the key. So I hope you choose the right way for use in negotiation. Framing versus creating value. Which you choose? Which one? Framing. Sticking by principle versus being resilient to the flow. Of course, you choose sticking by principle. Next, sticking with the strategies or opportunistic pursuit of new option. Okay, you choose sticking with the strategy. Honest and open. All choose and obtuse. Okay, you choose honest and open. Trust versus distrust. Of course, you choose trust. So about negotiation skill, you try to claiming with the trust and sticking by principle and strategy that you have, that you plan and prepare yourself before, and everything based on your honesty. And the next one, interdependence. Okay, one of the key characteristics of negotiation situations is that the parties need each other in order to achieve their preferred objectives or outcome. That is, either they must uh, coordinate with each other to achieve their own objectives, or they choose to work together because their possible outcome is better than they can achieve by working on their own, right? When the parties depend on each other to achieve their own preferred outcome, they are interdependent. Most relationships between parties may be characterized in one or three ways: independent, dependent, or interdependent. Independent parties are able to meet their own needs without the help and assistance of others. Dependent parties must rely on others for what they need because they need the help or cooperation of the others, and dependent party must accept and accommodate to that provider's whims and idiosyncrasies. Mm. For example, if an employee is totally dependent on an employer for a job and salary, the employee will have to either do the job as instructed and accept the pay offered, or go without that job. Interdependent party, however, are characterized by interlocking goals. The party needs each other in order to accomplish their objectives and hence have a potential to influence each other. For instance, in a project management team, no single people could complete a complex project alone. You can think about your group project. The time limit is usually too short, and no individual has all the skills or knowledge to complete it. For the group to accomplish its goal, each people needs to rally on the other project team members to contribute their time, knowledge, and resources and to synchronize their efforts. Note that having interdependence goal does not mean that everyone wants to need exactly the same thing. Different project team members and need different things, but they must work together for each to accomplish their goals. Okay. Okay. The measure dependency is called interdependence. Interdependence goals are an important aspect of negotiation. Win lose. I win, you lose. Win win opportunities for both parties to gain. That's example that I just explained already. Project management team. And next, independent parties are characterized by interlocking goals. Having the dependence goal does not mean that everyone wants to need exactly the same thing. And the mix, and next, type of dependence affect outcomes. Okay, about this, interdependence and the structure of the situation share processes and outcomes. First, zero sum or distributive. One winner. For example, two people are running a race, so the situation is competitive. So there is a negative correlation between the two goal attainment. Next, non-zero sum or integrative Metrogen situation, for example, the combination of musicians and writer. Okay, guys, so look at metro adjustment. And next, mature adjustment and concession making. Okay, have to tie about measure. Okay, about this นะคะ continues throughout the negotiation as both parties act to influence the other. Negotiation is a process that transforms over time, and mutual adjustment is one of the key causes of the change that occur during a negotiation. The effective negotiator needs to understand how people will adjust and readjust and how the negotiations might twist and turn based on one's own move and the other's responses. Next, major adjustment and concession making. Okay. When one party agrees to make a change in his or her position, a concession has been made. Concessions restrict the range of options. When a concession is made, the bargaining rank is further constrained. For example, follow this. Next, two dilemmas in major adjustment. Okay, for the first one, dilemma of honesty, concerned about how much of the truth to tell the other party. And the next one, dilemma of trust, concerned about how much negotiators should believe what the other party tells them. Next, value claiming and value creating. Ah, okay. About this, negotiators phase two related tasks, value claiming and value creating, opportunities to win or share resources. Claiming value result of zero sum or distributive situations where the object is to gain largest piece of the resource and is often described as increasing the size of the pie. Ah, this is the example. Please read the example by yourself.อืมโอเคนะ creating value please read it โอเค and next conflict นะคะโอเค about conflict okay as we have been oh sorry discussing a potential consequence of interdependent relationship is conflict. Conflict can result from the strongly divergent needs of the two parties or from a misperception or misunderstandings. Conflict can occur when the two parties are work toward the same goal and generally want the same outcome, or when both parties want very different outcomes. Regardless of the cause of the conflict, negotiation can play an important role in resolving it effectively. So we will define conflict, discuss the different levels of conflict that can occur, review the function of conflict, and discuss strategies for managing conflict effectively. Before everything, the first one we might define about the conflict meaning. Okay, a express struggle between at least two interdependent parties who perceive incompatible goals, scarce resources, and interference from others in achieving their goals. Okay, conflict occur whenever disagreements exist in a social situation of issues of substance. Emotional antagonism causes frictions between individuals or groups. Okay, next, type of conflict. Okay, about type of conflict. First, substantive conflict. A fundamental disagreement over ends or goals to be pursued and the means for their accomplishment. Task oriented dealing with organization goals, products, services, and systems. And next, emotional conflict, interpersonal difficulties that arise over feeling of anger, mistrust, dislike, fear, resentment, etc. Level of conflict. One way to understand conflict is to distinguish it by level. Okay, this is all level of conflicts. For the first one, interpersonal or interfacial conflict. Okay, these conflicts occur within an individual source. All conflict can include ideas, thought, emotions, value, or drive that are is conflict with other. When we an ice cream cone badly, but we know that ice cream is very fattening. We can angry at our boss, but we are afraid to express that anger because the boss might fire us for being insubordinate. The dynamics of interfacial conflict and are traditionally studied by various fields of psychology, cognitive psychologists, personality theory, uh, clinical. Okay, next, interpersonal conflict. A second major level of conflict is between individuals. Interpersonal conflict occur between co-workers, spouses, siblings, roommates, or neighbors. Most of the negotiation theory from study of interpersonal negotiation and directly address the management and resolution of interpersonal conflict. And next, intra-group conflict. A third major level of conflict is within a group, among team and work group members, and within families, classes, living unit. At the, at the intra-group level, we analyze conflict as its effect, the ability of the group to make decisions, work productively, resolve its differences, and continue to achieve its goal. Within group negotiations in various forms, and the next one, intergroup conflict. The final level of conflict is intergroup between organization, ethnic groups, warring nation, um, feeding families, or within Pinterest, fragmented communities. Okay, at this level, conflict is quite intricate because of the large number of people involved and the multitudinous ways they can interact with each other. Negotiation at this level are also the most complex. And okay, one, two, two, one, two, three, four. And this is the really five last process or last conflict level type. This is the new one from the new research that we find inter organizational conflict. For the traditional conflict level, we just study about the conflict in group, in family, in your real life. But the current day conflict inter-organizational is very important too because occurs in the competition and rivalry that characterize firm operating in the same markets, occurs between unions and organization employing their members, occurs between government regulatory agencies and organizations subject to their surveillance occurs between organizations and suppliers of raw material. Okay, for the last level, this we specific to organization and specific to the business, and the real factor that's happening in the business world and organization. That's why the last level is at in the level of conflict from the period addition. Dysfunction or conflict. Most people initially believe that conflict is bad or dysfunctional. This belief have two aspects. First, that conflict is an indication that something is wrong, broken, or dysfunctional. And a second, the conflict creates likely destructive consequences. So, on many of the elements that contribute or to conflict destructive image. The first one, competitive win-loss goals. Parties compete against each other because they believe that their interdependence is such that goals are in opposition and both cannot simul- simultaneously achieve their objectives. Competitive goals lead to competitive processes to obtain those goals. And next, misperception and bias. As conflict intensifies, perceptions become distorted. People come to view things consistently with their own perspective of the conflict. Hence, they tend to interpret people and events as being either with them or against them. Um, In addition, thinking tend to become stereotypical and biased. Parties adore people and events that support their position and reject outright those who oppose them. And next, emotionality. About emotionality, conflict tend to become emotionality charged as the party become anxious, irritated, annoyed, angry, or frustrated. Emotion over clear thinking, and the parties may become increasingly irrational as the conflict escalates. And the next one, decreased communication, productivity communication decline because conflict. Party communicate less with those who disagree with them and more with those who agree. The communication that does occur is often an attempt to defeat, demean, or debunk the other's will or to strengthen one's own previous arguments. Next, broad issue. The central issue in this became broad and less well defined. Um, Generalization about the conflict become a vortex that sucks in unrelated issue and innocent bystanders. The party become less clear about how the debate start, what is this really about, or what it will take to solve it. Next, rigid commitments. The party become locked into positions at the other side. Challenge them parties become more committed to their points of view and less willing to back down from them for fear of losing face and looking foolish. Thinking processes become rigid, and the party tend to see issue as simple and either or rather than as complex the multi-dimension. Next, magnify differences, minimize similarities. As parties lock into commitments and issues become blurred, they tend to see each other and each other's position as polar opposites. Factors that distinguish and separate them from each other become highlighted and emphasized with similarities that they should become simplified and minimized. The distortion leads to parties that believe they are further apart from each other than they really may be, and hence they may work less hard to find common ground. And the next one, escalation of conflict. As the conflict progresses, each side become more entrenched in its own will, less tolerant and accepting of the other, more defensive and less communicative and more emotion. The net result is that both parties attempt to win by increasing their commitment to their position, increasing the resources they are willing to spend to win, and increasing their tenacity to holding their ground under pressure. Both sides believe that by adding more pressure about resources, commitment, enthusiasm, energy, power, they can force the other to capitulate and admit defeat. As more destructive conflict reveal however nothing could be further from the trust, escalation of the conflict levels and commitment to winning can increase so high that the parties will destroy their ability to resolve the conflict or ever be able to deal with each other again. The next one, function of conflict.